The college football experience, Alabama Crimson Tide 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Randy Cross. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Alabama Crimson Tide 2023 season preview episode. And wow, I mean, it's the Alabama Crimson Tide. Joe Willie Namath, Bart Starr, Bobby Humphrey, Derek Thomas, George Teague. I can go on and on and on. What a proud program this is, but perhaps you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Sir, how you doing, folks? Honored to be here to talk a little Roll Tide football. Love Alabama's uniforms. Always have. Always have. Jay Barker days.
I mean, just a gorgeous set of uniforms. Great vibe, Alabama.
Freddie Kitchens days.
Part of the Iron Bowl.
Brian Bergdorf days. I can go on and on and on. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh.
We're here to talk Roll Tide football, baby.
We've talked about this before. Alabama, in your opinion, and I think I agree with you, is obviously at present the face of college football. Maybe not at this exact moment. I think you got to say Georgia, but over the past decade, certainly Alabama. 15 years, certainly Alabama. But all time, I think you said you think Alabama is the all-time college football team.
Well, like I said, I think you just think of the history of college football, and when you think of so many classic players, wasn't Stabler Alabama too? I think Ken Stabler's Alabama. I know Bart Starr, Joe Namath. I
didn't realize Starr was Alabama.
Yeah,
wow.
I want to say John Hanna, who was the greatest, arguably the greatest offensive lineman ever.
So they had a quarterback in the first 3 Super Bowls. With Starr in both 1 and 2, and then Namath in 3.
I think so. And then I think Stabler,
or the winner of the first 3 Super Bowls.
Stabler, I believe. We double checked that. Ken Stabler, I believe, is from the University of Alabama. Yep, I am right. So
they're cranking them back then too.
This isn't. Look, I get it. Shout out to Nick Saban. He's done an unbelievable job, but this program's been rolling for a long time. Gene Stallings, Bear Bryant. You can go on and on and on.
Just some names. Just
a few names there. Derek Thomas. Never heard of him.
Yeah.
Come on. But Patty C, we got to talk a lot about Roll Tide here because it's easy to see a tide turn, buddy.
Hello.
As we always say,
it's easy to see a tide turn.
To quote the great
George W. And I think you can make an argument that the tide could be turning. We're going to talk all about that. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the Alabama Crimson Tide 2023 season preview episodes brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, Edge Boost is the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in betting advances, which can be an extremely valuable tool. Imagine what you can do with an increased bankroll, Patty C. You can get down on some of your favorite futures without tying up your bankroll for months, because that's part of it. I mean, look, gambling is a. I think it's just so much better today, legalized than illegal. You know, I know you saw the recent Alabama fans will know this with their baseball program. You know, that like we caught them. And before, I remember Boston College, I think it was in the 80s, we didn't find out till like years after. So they had already benefited off that.
Yeah.
To catch them now means it's working. The Iowa Hawkeyes, I think, had a situation too, or Iowa State. So this system is working. So I think this is a good thing. And Edge Boost is a fantastic thing, because let's say, you know, you are spending, let's say you're just, you lost $1,000 on the Iron Bowl. You, for some stupid reason, took Auburn, right? Last year. And you're like, what are you doing? Right. And, you know, now you were sitting there and you're like, well,
back in the 80s.
Well, yeah. You
didn't have a kneecap the next day.
Well, exactly. You didn't have that money. Guess what? Edge Boost isn't some sleazy loan shark that's going to break your kneecaps. All right. They charge 0 interest. All right. 0 interest. And they give you up to $2,500 in betting advances. Edge Boost can also be a part of a responsible gambling plan, as you can set up daily, weekly, monthly limits across all your betting accounts at one place. It's absolutely fantastic. Support SGPN and grow your bankroll by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. Problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know, you get that, you get that inside tip. You listen to us, we try and give you the inside information. Say you get the real inside information. Say, you know, the quarterback of Auburn, right? And you see him get injured, right? In person, right?
Yeah.
He's walking down the street. He trips on the corner. Boom. Broken ankle. Call Edge Boost. Get that money.
Boom.
Put the bet down on Bama.
Once again, folks, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. All right. We are back talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. Patty C, my point in playing this.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Some would say Nick Saban, I know he was out here in Los Angeles watching Kirby Smart win his second national championship in a row, and I guarantee you he was thinking,
because I understand how the bastard thinks. I taught him. Now I own one.
I mean, let's not sugarcoat this. Look, shout out to our Alabama fans. You got a great program. Love Roll Tide. Love Bryant-Denny. Love all this good stuff. Love the uniforms Alabama's always had. But Georgia has kind of stolen a little bit of the mojo of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I mean, yes, certainly. I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, they're the only team that's even been remotely close to challenging them, and they have gotten the better of them, I think, twice now.
Well, they just won 2 national championships. Was my point, and like when that happens, it's kind of like a passing of the baton in a way.
Yeah,
and you wonder. Nick Saban turned 72 this college football season. That's got to be a concern for Bama fans, because Kirby Smart's not going to leave Georgia for Alabama.
Oh, Jermaine Burton will. So maybe maybe Kirby Smart will.
Perhaps.
But probably not.
But either way, I mean, it just presents an interesting thing going to, looking ahead at the Alabama Crimson Tide. You look back at last season, Patty C, and I think, Nick Saban is 71 years old. College football is changing in front of our eyes. Yeah. NIL, transfer portal. You could see, I personally thought that Alabama should have lost to Texas. However, I'll correct that by saying I thought they should have beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I thought like they were the better team against Tennessee. Tennessee ended up like somehow finagling a win out of that.
Yeah.
Whereas with Texas, I actually believe Texas was the better team that day.
Yeah.
Now, Bryce Young willed them to some key wins. The
almost
Texas game,
to the Tennessee game.
Yeah. Well, LSU, had they not gone for 2, he would willed them back to tie it up. And the year before that, we saw him do a lot of things like that. And also Will Anderson was such a great defensive player. Those guys are gone. They're
Bryce
in the NFL.
Young was an absolute magician. You can't like overstate how valuable he's been for them for the past couple of years.
So concerns all throughout, they replaced the defensive coordinator. They weren't happy with the defense last year. Weren't happy with the offense. Bill O'Brien is back with the Patriots. They turned to Tommy Rees
on the offensive side.
Side of the ball. They turned to Kevin Steele, a familiar name on the defensive side of the ball. Came in with Saban at Alabama.
He's also a little up there, 65. Tommy Rees, 31.
Yeah, interesting hires. Super interesting hires. We're going to touch base on all of that, but I feel like what I got to do first is touch base on if you listen to all of our other 133 previews that we're doing, we got to hit on the transfer portal. We'll hit on all of that with the Alabama Crimson Tide, 23-time national champion Alabama Crimson Tide, Patty C.
It's a lot.
All right. Well, look, transfers lost. Cornerback Traquan Fegans to USC. Cornerback Jaquez Robinson to Colorado. Tight end Elijah Brown to Florida Atlantic with the Owls, who have a brand new head coach in Tom Herman. Linebacker Demoy Kennedy to Colorado. Wide receiver Tyler Harrell to the Miami Hurricanes. Wide receiver Avery Anderson. Wide receiver Avery Anderson to LSU. What the hell is that? Wide receiver JoJo Early to TCU. Wide receiver Christian Leary to Georgia Tech. Offensive tackle Tommy Brockermeyer to TCU. Offensive tackle Damian George to Florida. Offensive lineman Javian Cohen to Miami, Florida. That was a big get for Miami. Offensive tackle Amari Knight to UCF. Wide receiver Trayshawn Holden to Oregon. Offensive lineman Tanner Bowles to Kentucky. Cornerback Kyrie Jackson to Oregon. Running back Trey Sanders to TCU. Punter Jack Martin getting in the mix to the Houston Cougars. And defensive lineman Braylon Ingram to Syracuse. That's all they lost. That's a lot of players to lose.
It is a lot. It's funny when you say that, and with them going to some rivalries, LSU, Florida. I don't know if you consider Kentucky, Florida a rival, but in
Kentucky's on the schedule this year too.
Yeah, it's something that wouldn't have been able to happen. I'm not saying Saban would have done it, but I'm saying Saban would have done it. He would have blocked transfers like that back then. A lot of
especially
coaches,
within conference. A lot of coaches. I would say majority of coaches would block within conference. And that might be a little bit of what I'm talking about here on why you saw. Well, we're going to dive into it. Why you saw kind of them struggle a little bit last year.
Yeah,
I know that sounds crazy because they were like
2 plays away from an undefeated season.
Yeah, exactly. But incoming transfers, CJ Dupree from the Maryland Terrapins. It was a great get at the tight end spot. Linebacker Tresman Marshall from Georgia. What? What's going on here?
Have some scruples, people.
What's going on here? Safety Jalen Key from UAB. Cornerback Trey Amos from Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. He was a beast. And quarterback Tyler Buchner from Notre Dame, which I think was one of the more shocking ones of all of the portal.
Yeah.
Going back to my point I was trying to make a second ago, and I'm just saying I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't know that I 100% believe Alabama's just going to end up going 6-6. I don't think that's true. However, you got to be honest. The Texas game, 20-19 win. Texas was what, 8-6 last year, I think, 8-5, something like that. The A&M game, A&M, was at the 1 yard line, didn't get it in. They beat A&M 24-20, but that was at Bryant-Denny, right?
Yeah.
They lost at Neyland Stadium 52-49. They lost at Tiger Stadium 32-31. And the Ole Miss game was a 6-point game at Ole Miss. And I know our pal Phil Steele was talking about this. They've had struggles on the road lately. The year before they lost at A&M. I've lobbied this for a long time. They used to play a lot of those neutral site games. When you do more shots on the road, the more likely you are to lose. And that goes for anything in college athletics. In
Absolutely.
My opinion.
Numbers strongly support that.
Yeah. And so my question is I get it. They were 4 points away from an undefeated season.
Yeah. I mean, in the year before, let's be honest, they beat the national champion Georgia in the SEC.
And I think they would have beat them again had they had
their wide receivers.
Yeah, and they had a corner out.
And their only loss 2 years ago in the regular season was by 3 points on the road against A&M, who hit their own last second field goal.
Yeah,
very similar situation to Tennessee.
They had a big kick return.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like, but you got to be honest, they played a lot more close games. And is that due to the transfer portal and NIL and just parity? Is that, is that just because? I mean, because let's be honest, Bryce Young was the best player in college football last year. Yeah. Will Anderson was like a top 10 player in college football.
If Bryce Young wasn't there last year, they certainly lose the Texas game. That's without question.
The Texas game they should have lost naturally, in my opinion. The rest were awful in that game.
Yeah,
but they should have beaten Tennessee. I thought like Tennessee stole that game.
Yeah.
And just like Alabama stole the Texas game.
Yeah.
But still, you got to admit they had some, concerning performances.
They had Ole Miss hanging around. They had
every away game, really, except the Arkansas game. Except the Arkansas game.
The LSU obviously got them.
Even that Arkansas game at one point got like close, but then they separated themselves, and they didn't have Bryce Young in that game either. That was actually a really impressive performance by Alabama.
I mean, I think the sky is not falling on Alabama, but I do think obviously Georgia has completely closed the gap and even inched past them. I think that they're going to find themselves in more of those dogfights, not only because a little bit of the transfer portal evening things out. Obviously, I think Alabama's recruiting as well as ever. I think the transfer portal evens things out, and I think the SEC West has come up. We talked about it. There's a lot of great coaches now that, the SEC West was good, but now it's really, really good in terms of the coaching ranks.
Yeah. When you had like Chad Morris at Arkansas.
Yeah.
And Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State. Now, obviously the sad situation with our friend Mike Leach passing away, rest in peace to Coach Leach. You have some uncertainty in Starkville, but
that's the only place.
Yeah. Ole Miss had Matt Luke, was it?
Yeah. They've come up.
Yeah.
Ole Miss has Kiffin. You got
Jimbo / Petrino, aka Road Rash Face. You got
College Station.
Brian Kelly is the big one there. Brian Kelly, I think, is one of the best coaches.
Sam Pittman in Arkansas.
Yeah, Pittman brought up them.
Yeah.
And now you have Hugh Strip Club Freeze at Auburn.
Yeah.
Who has a history of messing with Saban a little bit at Ole Miss.
I think if they play in these close games, they're going to catch another couple.
And Tennessee's came up because they play Tennessee every year, and Heupel has ignited the Vols.
Now, that cross-division rivalry will probably only last one more year because presumably they're going to either a pod or maybe.
Don't start me on that 8-game stuff. Should be 9 games.
Yeah.
Should be 9 games. I still can't believe they decided on 8. Anyway,
let's give them some crap here, Alabama. Look, we're gonna praise you. We're gonna laud you for how great you are. Let's tear you up a little bit.
Well, you know how I feel. Like, this is ridiculous. The 9-game, like you have a 16-team conference, and this goes for the Big Ten too. Any conference that's gonna do this many teams, especially when you have like nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
the rivalries are all being shut down.
What's going on here? We want to see LSU
and Saban.
We want to see these matchups. We want to see Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And now we're only going to get an 8-game schedule. So every other year. Come on, Stop it. We want the Iron Bowl. We want LSU, Bama. We want Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Stop complaining.
Some of those are going to have to go.
Just man up. Just man up. We have a 12-team playoff. You can have 2 losses and still make the playoffs. All right.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Everything Saban does is with purpose, right?
Yeah. He bothered me with that part. He really bothered me with that.
He's got to be bothering you with the going to DC to try and.
Here's my problem is trying to lobby against the NIL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my problem with Saban. He complains when no one shows up to their games of Western Carolina at Alabama.
Yeah.
When Alabama's up 52-0 at half.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, I'm a strong supporter of playing only Power 5 games.
Yeah. And then
he gets this opportunity
to make that happen.
And
himself.
What does he do? Yeah. What does he do?
He lobbies for an 8-game conference schedule.
So we're going to see Western Carolina again play Bama.
Yeah.
And with college football's attendance, problem because TV is so great, you can watch 30 games.
Yeah.
I can only foresee that becoming more of a problem because
for in-game attendance.
Yeah.
And then he's going to cry about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
He wins a lot.
He's a hell of a coach, but at the same time, come on, man. He said this himself.
Yeah.
He said, I want to play, 10 Power 5s or as many Power 5s as we can. Georgia voted yes. LSU voted yes, but Bama did not.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, Nick Saban, in the sense that we all think of college football as okay, don't make it pro football. Don't make it about the money. I like that he, on a surface level doesn't want it to be a money game. He wants it to be, amateur athletics.
The problem is it's always been
that. Yeah. And Alabama has stood to benefit from it being like that because they have big boosters. So
yeah, but let's not just that is the reality. That is the reality. All right. He's a fantastic coach. Obviously you cannot knock his record. What is it? It's something unbelievably crazy. 194-27 at Bama. I mean, he only has 27 losses at Alabama. And I feel like half of those were the first season, but let's talk about it because I'm very curious. I did not expect. So when Alabama got rid of Bill O'Brien, I kind of saw that one. I saw the writing on the wall there. I thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to be Tommy Rees.
Not at all. I think everyone was stunned by that one. I went back, I looked at a little bit of the stats. I was incorrect on the previous in 2019 when Chip Long was there. They had the number 13.
Notre Dame, you're talking.
All right, Notre Dame, yeah. Notre Dame had the number 13 scoring offense, but they had the number 44 overall offense. Tommy Rees comes in though in his 3 years as coordinator there. They have the number 27 total offense in the country, number 45, and then number 60 most recently this past year. That's a pretty average offense from a statistical measure. Why would Saban bring that guy on?
Yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with playing Brian Kelly every year.
Maybe. I mean, if that's his biggest,
I know that sounds ridiculous. You just have one game, but I'm like, if he's beating everybody else, he's like, well, our players are just going to beat Ole Miss every time or almost every time.
Yeah, we don't need to have the inside track on them.
I know it was an interesting hire. I was not expecting that. I was just not expecting that. So Tommy Rees is the new OC. Obviously, he brings in Tyler Buchner, who you're talking to our guy Phil Steele earlier. Like he thinks Buchner's going to be the starting quarterback.
Buchner has good athleticism.
That was surprising to me though, because you had Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson and these other guys. And I figured it would be either Milroe or Simpson.
I think you're getting the same thing from Buchner that you're getting from Milroe. When I have watched him, he hasn't necessarily been like the most accurate passer.
Milroe's more of a home run threat, right?
With his feet?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think Buchner's probably a little better of a passer. And although Milroe, 57% passing, not great, but not terrible. I don't think Buchner is like gonna, come out here and be Peyton Manning.
Oh, I don't think he's a terrible get, but I'm a bit perplexed. If it sounds like we're just dumping on Alabama here, they're still going to be a very good team.
Oh, they're so loaded across the board on every other position.
But honestly, if let's say Buchner's starting game one, like Steele thinks he's going to, and by the way, shout out to Phil Steele. He's on our show every year. He'll be on in a couple weeks. But where would you rank him among? I know the SEC lost a ton of quarterbacks, but you have Jaden Daniels coming back to LSU.
Yeah.
Wegman, who started some games, high recruit at A&M. You have KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. You have whoever Ole Miss decides to go with, whether it's Spencer Sanders, they have like a slew of different. They have three guys that have had. Jackson Dart is still there.
Reps.
Will Rogers is in his 300th season. He's on the Stetson Bennett program here at Mississippi State. And then you have Peyton Thorne transferring into Auburn.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, you have whoever Georgia elects to go with. You have Rattlers at South Carolina. Milton's at Tennessee. Florida's going with Graham Mertz, we think.
Yeah.
Devin Leary, the NC State transfer to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then you have whoever Missouri elects to go with, Garcia, the transfer from Miami, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then Vandy. Well, let's not mention Vandy, but everyone else. What do you?
I think it's pretty low. I think it's on the bottom third of SEC quarterbacks that they're going to be bringing in. Does that matter? Is Alabama still going to have so much talent that they're going to win? I mean, they went to the national championship. Who's the running back that they put in at back in 2014, the first year of the college football playoff? They took a converted running back and went to the national championship. Or to the Sugar Bowl and lost to Ohio State.
Why am I drawing a blank right now?
I'm drawing a blank on his name too. But I think they're going to be fine. But in games like that, it helps to have a good quarterback. And that's the difference between a championship Alabama team and not a championship Alabama team. Then again, Jake Coker wasn't exactly something special, and they won a national championship with him.
Stetson Bennett wasn't even a recruit. I mean, he was a 0-star. You know what I mean? It's like
it doesn't mean it's over, but they are going to miss Bryce Young.
Well, look, last year, Bill O'Brien, who's gone 4th in the nation in scoring offense, 30th in rush offense, 19th in pass offense, 11th in total offense, and you're out of here.
Yeah.
Tough,
not good
tough
enough.
world. So if it's Buchner starting at QB, like I said, it's either going to be him, Milroe, or Simpson, we believe. The running back scenario here. What do you think of Jase McClellan? He's a beast. He's flashed when I saw him play. What do you make of him at the running back spot? And I know they also have Roydell Williams. What do you make of those backs?
Oh, you can't argue with 5.8 yards per carry.
Yeah,
decent out of the backfield. And when you think about maybe him getting, the majority of the production, Jahmyr Gibbs 44 receptions out of the backfield last year. So if he's their number one check down option as well, you got to expect huge numbers out of McClellan.
True.
I mean, they were kind of splitting carries. Gibbs had 151, McClellan 112. So if he's the guy, the feature back this year, then he could be 1,000-yard back.
Well, especially with Tommy Rees and Notre Dame's history of running the ball.
Yeah,
that's what's going to be compelling to watch with Bama every week. Is that this is a team, Notre Dame, that did not have elite wide receivers. Well, Alabama does. Alabama has Ja'Cory Brooks and Jermaine Burton, who
they didn't last year so much.
Yeah, but
now
still
they
better
do
than
again.
Notre Dame's. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, Jermaine Burton, the Georgia transfer, he's back. Ja'Cory Brooks. They also have Kobe Prentice. Emmanuel Henderson's a name to watch. And same with Malik Benson.
Yeah, bring back their top 2 receivers in Burton and Brooks.
Well, I think Henderson and Benson are pretty good too to watch out for. But offensive line, only 2 starters back on the offensive line, but at least center Seth McLaughlin's back and Jase Latham at the right tackle spot.
Latham, the only player on this preseason what is it? Lindy's, I think we were looking at had like the all conference offensive team. And Latham's the only one on any of those.
It's been a while.
First, second, third team.
It's been a while since Bama's only had one.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not looking like a super elite offense.
It's all subjective though. You know what I mean? That's all subjective.
It's plug and play though with Bama. They just don't have guys that have, starred yet, but that doesn't mean they're not going to star this year.
Defensive coordinator is Kevin Steele. That was a bit surprising. Like, I know he has the track record with Saban, but Miami's defense was not great last year.
Yeah.
However, I do believe sometimes you don't have the roster, and that might have been the scenario with Miami. I do believe Kevin Steele will be a good DC. Kevin Steele's been at every SEC school ever, I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I feel like Auburn, didn't they really want him?
I thought he might have even been they wanted him.
Yeah, but I don't think
he was at Tennessee. He was at every school.
Yeah.
He's at Maryland, I think, for a cup of coffee. So Alabama's defense a year ago, 9th in scoring defense, 35th in rush defense, 17th in pass defense, 12th overall in total defense, Petty C.
Yeah.
Once again, to overhaul the offense, 11th in total offense, 12th in total defense. That shows you what Nick Saban demands: perfection.
Top 10 or you're out.
They do return 2 of 3 on the defensive line, led by Tim Smith and Jaheim Otis. Obviously losing Will Anderson on the defensive side of the ball is gigantic. They only have 1 linebacker back, and that's Dallas Turner. But come on, they're loaded.
Dallas Turner considered the top player in the SEC from a talent perspective. So,
but I mean, I don't fear the fact. Oh, you're only returning 1 linebacker. I'm sure the other guys are beasts. Both corners are back. Kool-Aid McKinstry, great name. Terrion Arnold back. The secondary, new safeties, but they were active in the portal. Does that scare you at all? Does it scare you at all that they made a point of emphasis over the past month? Late transfer gets of Jalen Key from UAB, who was an all-conference guy, and cornerback Trey Amos from Louisiana. Does that tell you that like Saban watched spring ball and goes, I don't know, we need to strengthen our defensive backfield?
Probably, but I think for Saban, the players that are transferring out are players he doesn't want, and the players that are transferring in are players that he handpicked. I feel like he can still get, pretty much whoever he wants. That's to a large extent to come play for them. So I think they're probably going to be fine. I really think the thing that is the difference for Alabama is quarterback. I mean, obviously we're looking at position by position. If we see a weakness, then that's a concern, but I don't think across the board you see many weaknesses. Maybe offensive line just because of the lack of experience, but there's so many stud recruits.
Yeah, I'm like you. I agree. Kicker and punter are back, by the way. Will Richard Burnup is back as well, punting. So special teams should be solid still. So now, Patty C, we do this. We're gonna go game by game, but before we do that, I want to tell you that the Alabama Crimson Tide 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Best Ball Mania is here at Underdog Fantasy, and they're giving away $15 million in prizes. Plus, there's plenty of ways to win with NBA, NHL, and MLB player prop parlays, and that's right now. One of the things when college football season comes around, I love those player prop parlays. We mention those all the time. So when September comes, you will be hearing me talk about those, and you can really, I think, take advantage of some stuff there if you listen to us. So head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, Patty C, we are back, and hopefully you're watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. Subscribe, tell a friend. We're breaking down all 133 teams in the FBS with a solo podcast, just like we do every year. We've been doing this for years. And another thing is we also cover the FCS. So if you're a North Alabama guy, if you're, any of those schools, Alabama, A&M, we got you covered.
We're diving in, baby.
Yeah. We got you covered there. And also we host the college basketball experience and college baseball experience. So we talk college sports year round. So subscribe to all three of those feeds, wherever you listen to podcast at. But if you are watching on YouTube, you're going to see this graphic here. Shout out to Cameron Kerr. Despite him being a Texas A&M Aggie, he did make this graphic, and he made it look good with this Alabama Crimson Tide, win total on there. Surprised. That's the lowest I can recall it in some time. 10.5 is the win total.
Yeah, maybe they're seeing some slippage. Other people are seeing it too. Let me say this though: Alabama been in 9 of the last 14 national championships, been in 6 of the last 8. However, only 1 national championship win in the last 5 years. I feel like when he started bringing in the likes of Lane Kiffin and some of these pass happy coordinators, Bill O'Brien, maybe he feels like he's lost a little control. He's a little too reliant on quarterback play.
Well, I hear there's gonna be a stronger emphasis on running
on the run, and that may be why he brought Rees in. But you get back to those Mark Ingram days where you don't need to have an excellent quarterback, and you're still going to have an offense that moves the ball and controls the clock.
You can also dictate the pace of the game better.
Yeah,
I thought like that Tennessee game. I thought I was surprised Saban,
they had to get frantic,
Well, they left Tennessee too much time, and I was surprised that they did that with the, so
yeah.
I know we're nitpicking here. This guy's a Hall of Fame coach, and we're a couple of idiots over here. But I mean,
he's making the change, and why Tommy Rees?
Yeah,
maybe because Tommy Rees likes to run the ball.
So anyway, let's look at this schedule, because 10.5. Your first reaction is, whoa, I haven't seen that low in quite some time. Week 1, Middle Tennessee, the Blue Raiders. Hey, Kevin Steele, you're the defensive coordinator. Well, Middle Tennessee did throw for like 400 yards on you last year, but when he was at Miami and they won, they won at Coral Gables.
Yeah.
10 once again, Miami's defensive backfield was a mess.
Yeah. Not quite the same as Alabama.
So this will be 52-10. Give me a 52-10 final.
That's generous for the Blue Raiders.
Yeah. Then comes the big one, week 2, the Texas Longhorns with Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers. He shaved the mullet, which
questionable
makes me favor Bama.
Yeah. It's like Simpson losing the locks.
Yeah.
Delilah is somewhere in the background over there messing up things for Texas.
Now Texas, like I said, should have won last year. Could they win this year? See, Texas is a team that is super talented. In these games, it's like when you pull up, even during this stretch where they've been terrible. You go back in LSU's team with the Orgeron that was in 2019 with Burrow. They almost lost at Texas. For some reason, Texas, even though they've been kind of shitty over the past decade, they do get up in these big games.
Well, and I think that stadium, Darrell Royal Stadium, 100,000+ people. I think a lot of the time when they're asleep for those games, it's like USC. Yeah. We've all been to USC, and
I've been to Darrell Royal too. Yeah.
If it's not a hyped up environment, it's a lot. The expectations are high. It takes a lot to get them hyped, but when it is hyped, it's a tough place to play.
But this is at Bryant-Denny.
This is in Tuscaloosa, and I think that heavily obviously favors Bama.
So, so you're going 2-0.
I'm going 2-0.
All right, let's go. Then they head to, and this is a clever one here. Shout out to this scheduling here at South Florida, because Bama doesn't normally go on the road to play Group of Fives. But it's funny. I believe the last time they did, they lost at Hawaii under Shula.
Wow.
Right. But
Been a while.
But they this is one of those tricky ones where they could say, hey, we played a group of 5, but it's at Raymond James Stadium. This is going to be more Alabama fans than South Florida fans.
It's an NFL stadium of probably 70,000 seats that normally USF fills out 10,000 of.
They were 1-11 last year. Now they are bringing in brand new head coach. Maybe he could bring in some new life, but Bama's going to roll here.
Their offensive their head coach beat Alabama last year as a coordinator.
Alex Galesh, yes, was the OC of the Tennessee Vols.
Don't see it happening this year.
3-0.
Give them a little credit for going on the road in the non-conference. You know, maybe it deserves a little asterisk, but hey, they're still starting. It's a step in the right direction.
Don't insult my intelligence.
Baby steps, Colby Dan.
Week 4, home to Lane clipboard throwing Kiffin against Ole Miss. This is an interesting one because Ole Miss. They just got Zachary Franklin, a big time wideout from UTSA.
Yeah,
they have three good quarterbacks. Now I'm expecting one of those to transfer in August, but I mean I got to favor Alabama, but this was a 6-point game a year ago.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on. I shouldn't be on Mississippi's running back.
Well, Zach Evans is gone.
No, the other one.
He's a beast.
They were handing him the ball a lot on that final drive against Alabama last year. And look, they got cute and started throwing the ball around and stalled out around the 20-yard line. If they'd have stuck to their guns and kept a balanced offense,
Quinshon Judkins
is a freaking tank. Then I think they could have gotten down to the goal line and maybe given out. I mean, they gave him a heck of a scare last year. So I think, and that was with Bryce Young at Alabama. I think Ole Miss has to be taken, but the fact that it's in Tuscaloosa, I have to lean Bama again.
Yep, I agree. And then you have my mystery game here because I have no idea what to expect of Mississippi State this year.
Alabama's going to win this game,
right?
Yeah.
I am perplexed by what's going on in Starkville. Obviously, our friend. Longtime friend of ours, Mike Leach is gone. Zach Arnett takes over. Davis Wade Stadium. I'm with you.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
Mike.
rest in peace, Coach Leach. If you're watching, we're on YouTube. We're throwing up the flag here. The Pirate. So I got them opening up 5-0, and I think people are going to say Tommy Rees is going to be the next head coach of the Crimson Tide. And then, unfortunately, I have them losing on Saturday, October 7th. Because they go to Kyle Field. We've had this feud, Jimbo and Saban. And might I add that Jimbo beat him last time in College Station. And last year they got down to the 1-yard line. And Bobby Petrino comes in, which I think can make the offense. If he can let Bobby Petrino know, which is a big if because the amount of egos on the sideline here.
Yeah.
But I got A&M winning this.
I mean, if you we saw what the difference between Tennessee with the players that they had.
I know A&M was a 5-team. How could I say that so boldly? Well, I gave them the Texas game. To me, the Texas game, like I favor Bama, but it's not by much. I favor Bama by like a field goal.
Yeah.
A&M still with winning 5 games last year and losing to App State. They still beat LSU, who was the SEC West champ.
Yeah, who beat Alabama.
That's my logic here.
Yeah.
A&M gets this win.
Well, this is me kind of, not being non-committal, but between this game and a game later on the schedule, they're going to lose. So I'll call this the loss, especially on the second end of the back-to-back road. You go to Starkville, you get annoyed by those fans, you get a little worn out. Maybe they test you, and then A&M is ready and rocking. Well, who does A&M have the week before? Let's take a look at that. A&M has Auburn the week before. So both.
No. They have Arkansas the week before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong.
But okay, the very next week they host Sam Pittman and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Chase Sessoms, aka the host of the Notorious OTB podcast, big Arkansas Razorback fan. He believes this is their year that they can win at Bama. He says there's blood in the water. I don't buy into that. Give me the Crimson Tide to put down the Razorbacks. What are you doing here?
Both of them having similar kind of transitions coordinator wise. Getting away from such a high passing, approach and going more to a running approach. Presumably.
Well, Pittman's been running a while at Arkansas, I feel like.
But I feel like they still were past happy a little bit with
KJ Jefferson.
No, who was the offensive coordinator? Went to
Bryles,
at the helm. I think they weren't as bad, but either way, this it figures to be a pretty physical game. I don't know. Arkansas could do it.
Nah.
KJ Jefferson coming back, but
I got Bama.
I'm leaning Bama.
Then you got the revenge game. This was probably the I thought the most memorable game of last season, Alabama, Tennessee. This year it's at Bryant-Denny. Can Josh Heupel make it 2 in a row? I don't think so, but I do think Joe Milton will work out fine there. The guy's got a cannon. I just think this will be too tough. Bama wins.
Yeah, I'll say this: between Texas, Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, at Texas, hosting Arkansas, and hosting Tennessee, there's a 1 loss in there.
Yeah, at Texas A&M, not Texas.
Oh yeah, at Texas A&M.
They get a bye week after that. Halloween weekend, they get a bye week, and then Saturday, November 4th. LSU's on a bye week too that week before, but now Brian Kelly and his family come into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and unfortunately, with Jaden Daniels and the talent that LSU has, I have the LSU Tigers winning this game. Patty C.
I mean, how many times does Nick Saban lose to the same team twice in a row? Not that often, but I mean, both coming off a bye here. I feel like, I mean, they do that every year. It's kind of a cool scheduling fixture, I think. Both take that
going
game
away.
Yeah, and now it's going away.
Yeah.
One last time, while this has been the rivalry, really, would you say this has been the marquee rivalry that Alabama's had over the past during the Saban era? I mean, obviously, because you think Iron Bowl has been
Kick
more.
6 is like the most memorable. Like if aliens came down to planet Earth and
wanted
like,
to
what
watch
is college football? And I'd be like, watch this.
Yeah.
You
sure.
know?
But that was
now
one
I know
time.
Bama fans are going to hate me for that take, but it's a pretty memorable play.
Oh, it's one of the best ever, if not the best ever. But that said, LSU and Bama, you know, they played in a national championship against each other. They were the 1 and 2. I mean, Saban was at LSU obviously before.
That is true.
So
that is true.
That's been as much a rivalry, if not more, than the Auburn rivalry for the past 15, 20 years.
They didn't poison any trees in Baton Rouge.
That's true. That's true. That said, LSU maybe gets it done. I'll give it to LSU.
I think LSU is a better team right now.
It's very hard for me to like confidently take the under on Bama.
Jaden Daniels played so good against Bama last year. I think he's the edge. He's the difference in this matchup.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a close game, and I trust the quarterback of LSU way more than the quarterback of Alabama.
Yeah,
I'm taking LSU.
All right, I'm with you.
Sorry, Tide fans. The following week, you're at Kentucky, and poor old Kentucky. They're going to feel the wrath of that loss.
Yeah.
I think Bama's going to beat them down. Then this beautiful FCS game that Saban's going to complain about is the Chattanooga Mocs coming into Bryant-Denny.
Why is no one here?
Yeah, that's going to be a win. And then comes the Iron Bowl, Patty C. Hugh Strip Club Freeze might be coaching from maybe he'll be coaching from a strip club. We've seen him coach from a hospital bed. Maybe he'll coach from a Zoom on a strip club there in Alabama. But it's at Jordan Hare. You know, these games get wacky. And Hugh Freeze, like I said, didn't he he might have beat Saban back-to-back years.
Yeah, he might have been one of them. Yeah. But that said, there's absolutely no way Saban, you know, doesn't have the guys motivated if they already have 2 losses. Saban simply does not lose 3 regular season games in the same year. It's never happened since year 1 at Bama while he's been at the helm.
I just think there's 2 losses though.
I think between LSU and Auburn, there might be one. And I think between those other ones we mentioned, there's definitely probably one.
Let me tell you this. And I know Alabama fans are going to hate, but I'm just trying to be honest. I think they're more likely to go 9-3 than they are to go 12-0.
I don't
really.
I think both are incredibly unlikely. I think 10-2 or 11 or 10.
I got them going 10-2.
Yeah. I mean, I think Vegas has it nailed. I think 10.5 is what it is. If not, it should be 11. You know, I think 12-0 is going to be really hard to get to. I think.
Let me ask you this though. So the Heisman Trophy winner and the best quarterback that Alabama's had in a long time, Bryce Young, is gone. Will Anderson's gone. Last year, Patty C, they were 3-2 on the road with 4 of those 5 road games being by a 1-score game.
Yeah.
So that's 5 1-score games there. 4 out of 5 being 1-score games. The only one is the Arkansas game on the road. So you tell me you feel confident with no Bryce Young and no Will Anderson.
Let me tell you what.
When your road games are in College Station, Starkville, Lexington, and at Auburn, and then you're home to LSU, Texas, Ole Miss and Tennessee. It's a tough schedule, man.
It's a tough schedule, but listen to their quarterbacks they've had under Saban that have done all right. John Parker Wilson, Greg McElroy, AJ McCarron, Blake Sims. That's who we were looking for. Jake Coker, Cooper Bateman, Blake Barnett, Jalen Hurts. Obviously, good.
See, my difference.
Tua, Mac, and then Bryce. Yeah, it's been a while. So I mean, the last.
I also think college football's changed a lot since some of those names.
Yeah, I mean,
like
it's been since 2015 since they had Coker, but after that, Hurts for 2 years, Tua for 2 years, Mac Jones for 2 years, Bryce Young for 2 years. This is the first time they haven't had an elite quarterback in like 8 years, 9 years.
I don't know. I think 10-2 is what
maybe
is what they're gonna go. I think they're gonna go 10-2. If I had to bet, actually, if you could find an odds for exactly 10-2, I think you play that. But I also believe in my statement. I think it's more likely they go 9-3 than 12-0.
Maybe. I mean, if they have great quarterback play, then 12-0 is possible. But if they have terrible quarterback play, 9-3 is actually a possibility based on how hard the schedule and the Texas game. If yours takes a step forward and they are dynamite, then 9-3 might be a possibility.
That's what I'm saying, man. Well, and then the fact that they get Hugh Freeze in Auburn that late. Now, I think the cupboard's pretty empty at Auburn, but at least you have the whole season to get decent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that they don't get, if they get Auburn week 3, I'd be like, Bama's going to win by 21. Then you get them November 25th. I still expect Bama to win that game, but I do think you're going to get the best version of that Auburn team.
Yeah.
So,
and Alabama, will probably have worked out some of the quarterback kinks for themselves too. But again, recalling Blake Sims back in the day, he did a great job. He got them pretty close to the national championship game. But the offense, that was a problem. They needed a crutch for that. The crutch was the running game. And if they have to lean on that crutch, late in the season, a team like Auburn with a coach like Strip Club Freeze could get the better of them.
Well, look, I agree. I think it's a daunting schedule in a way. Folks, before we get out of here, we got a little interview here. College Football Campus Tour, aka Michael Barker, joined me to talk about the Crimson Tide and Bryant-Denny Stadium, and here's that. Here we are on the College Football Experience Alabama Crimson Tide preview, and look, we had to go to my guy here, Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour on Twitter. You need to be following him because the guy has been to every single school in the FBS. I feel like countless times. Michael, appreciate you coming on the show, and talk to me about Bryant-Denny Stadium and your experiences there.
Well, Bryant-Denny Stadium, as we know, is home of one of the greatest dynasties in college football history, Alabama football in Tuscaloosa. Bryant-Denny opened in 1929, but when it opened, it only had 6,000 seats. It's grown to 100,000 seats currently. It's one of 8 stadiums in the FBS that's over 100,000. It has classic grass, which we all love. But one of the downsides of its capacity over the early years, even up to the 70s and 80s, most of the neutral site games were played at Legion Field, which held up to 70, 80,000. So once Bryant-Denny became renovated and expanded, and the condition of Legion Field went down at the same time, it coincided with games getting back on campus at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And ever since the mid to late 90s, it's been a very scary place to play.
Yeah, and look, you said you've been there twice, correct?
I've been there twice. 2017 versus LSU top 10 matchup, and then I went to the Iron Bowl last year versus Auburn.
Oh man, those are the two best to go to. Those are I would just imagine, to me, if I was going to go to a Bama game, the Iron Bowl. I don't even want to ask you what a ticket ran, but how was that experience rivalry wise? I know you've been to all these stadiums, so many FCS stadiums as well, folks. Like I said, give them a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. But rivalry games, you've been to a slew of them. Energy wise, was that up there with the best?
Well, the LSU game in 2017 was a top 25 matchup. That was a little bit more of an environment that was it was more intense. Typically, the Iron Bowl is going to be the most intense, but last year Auburn was a little bit down. But what's cool about first of all, it's a scary place to play for anybody. They're 95-7 with Saban as the head coach at Bryant-Denny Stadium, which is ridiculous. But the outside of the stadium is cool too. They have on the concrete right outside, they have handprints and everything dedicated to all Americans and national championship teams. They have statues outside the stadium for all the coaches that won national championships: Gene Stallings, Bear Bryant, Frank Thomas, Wallace Wade, obviously Saban. The list goes on. And before the game, everybody crowds right outside the stadium. The team buses pull up. Nick Saban's in the front seat of the front bus, and you can watch them and greet them going to the game. So it's pageantry, it's tradition, it's intense football, and it's a house of horrors for opponents.
Yeah, I've got to get there. To me, like, bucket list. I can't believe I haven't been there, and I host a college football show, because I just need to get there. And obviously that record, unbelievable, with Nick Saban at the helm. And look, 1929. That is I would like to think blindly that that's one of the older in the FBS, but the Power Five, I would think, I know you get FCS, the Ivy League school's been there forever, but I think that's what blindly, that's one of the older, or am I talking completely, nonsense here?
Well, two things are cool. Number one is, other than Kentucky, Kroger Field, that was built in 1975, none of the SEC stadiums were built post 1940. So it's really interesting that they've hung on so long. But the most remarkable thing is that they've expanded. You took a 6,000 seat stadium at Bryant-Denny, and now it's 100,000. I mean, that's common. LSU Tiger Stadium is like that too. So the creativity, the ingenuity, but also staying in the same site and having it grow. So, when you go in Bryant-Denny Stadium, you're walking in a place that's almost 100,000 or 100 years old, and, the likes of Heisman Trophy winners and national championship teams. So it's historic. It's been modernized to keep up with the trends of today. They have a light display that makes the whole stadium red between the third and fourth quarter. So it's an experience that combines all the things that are good about college football.
I love that about, college football, and especially the SEC being able to preserve that, playing on the same fields as some of those players, playing on the same fields as their grandfather, and so many legends. So I really need to get to a game there. But Michael, I appreciate you joining us, talking Bama football. Everybody needs to follow him on Twitter. If you're a college football fan and you're not following him on Twitter, to me, I question how big of a college football fan you are. All right. At CFB Campus Tour. Like I said, this guy goes to he's been to every single game. I feel like he'll go to 4, 5, 6 games a week. He's constantly going to college football games, posting the photo of the game. So make sure you give him a follow. And Michael, thank you for coming on, and roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Colby.
That was awesome. Bryant-Denny Stadium, Patty C. I got to go.
To me, aesthetically, it's one of the most beautiful stadiums. I really think that it's jaw-dropping in terms of the architecture and the symmetry, the light display, like you said. It doesn't have the reputation as the crowd being absolutely insane or wacky, but to me, when I look at it and I say, holy crap, that's a gigantic stadium that would intimidate the hell out of me if I was a player, that didn't know anything about it. It's one of the most intimidating looking stadiums out there.
There we go. Look, I got to get there though, for sure. I got to get there, folks. We appreciate you coming here. All right. Subscribe to the College Football Experience. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. And if you can, hop on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. It's always good. Doesn't matter. Even if you're there to tell me I'm an idiot, please feel free, but just do 5 stars. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe to that over there. And remember what I said, we host the college baseball experience. Wake Forest and Alabama played in a good one today. We also host the college basketball experience. We talk college hoops year round. Nate Oates obviously had a wonderful year this past season. We also just subscribe to all of those podcasts. We all come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Get the SGPN app in the App Store and Google Play Store. And And we also host the USFL gambling podcast, which has been going on for a couple years in Birmingham. The Stallions and Skip Holtz have been rolling. So check out that as well. Get the SGPN app. And look, I love doing all these 133 teams, 133 episodes. Let's go. This is the college football experience. Alabama Crimson Tide style. Roll Tide. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know